Today, we battle for championships. Today, we see which drivers are able to come up on top. Today, we see who gets the glory. The Indy Karting Challenge is all set to go from K1 Circuit Whiteland in Whiteland, Indiana on a cool, brisk day to see who comes out on top. I'm Justin Prince alongside Taylor Burris here on Kart Chaser as we get set to go for today's coverage. It's a busy morning on the docket to start things off for today, with the micros and the minis racing separately. You also have 206 Medium, 206 Junior, the Legends and Supermasters in 206, then the KA Senior and Masters together. All part of a busy slate, this Taylor, as we get ready to see how qualifying fares out this morning.
Absolutely, and good morning to a very brisk morning out here in Whiteland, Indiana, at the K1 Circuit at Whiteland. As we get set for action, currently temperatures are around the 40-degree mark. We'll warm up a little bit as the day progresses, especially when we get into the afternoon session, but it's going to be quite interesting to see how the drivers will be able to manage these cold weather temperatures here this morning for the morning group, as qualifying should be getting set to be released here in a few short moments. But Justin, we got quite a bit of champions that are set to do battle here today. Mini Swift, Micro Swift, those ones are kind of already determined quite well, but there's still some other great championships up for grab.
Yes, absolutely. And keep in mind today, we'll talk a lot about the championships. We have plenty of battles going on. The Micros still has potential lock up with the heat race here today for James Fox. That'll be the first groups coming out today with Jackson McNeely right now 248 points back in the standings entering today. Diesel Maxwell has already missed an additional race than the other drivers, so he is out of the range as a result for championship contention. Still, could potentially steal second, but decent run here today. Then talking about the minis this morning. It's going to be an interesting time for them to see who's going to be able to take some wins, with Blake Martinez already clinching that championship. So at the moment, drivers are currently waiting as we work on scoring. It's going to be an interesting layout today. Some of the crew members from Kart Chaser were pretty intrigued on today's setup, Taylor, because it's a little bit different than usual for our layout. We're going to have layout number 1, and that essentially will be reversed from where we normally see from a lot of the races we've seen throughout the season here on Kart Chaser. But also, you have essentially a very long straightaway up until the start and finish timing beacon, then a fair amount of chicanes before you head up to the Daytona banking to set up that run towards the final corners.
Absolutely, Justin. I mean, this is the first time we're truly running the back half of the infield section of the circuit. Normally, we're running those first couple of corners right there, right here you see on screen, that are part of that infield section before we take that hairpin going up towards the Daytona banking, whether it be the reverse or the normal direction. So it's going to provide a little bit of intrigue, especially the two hairpins that lead off end of the infield section on the back half of the course. They're going to be pretty intriguing, I have to say. Great passing opportunities. A lot of drafting, of course, on the front straightaway will be critical in our 206 categories. And then, of course, the famous Daytona curve, where we'll see a lot of great passing for positions, some great drafting to set up for going on to the front straightaway. Keep an eye on those areas. And then we have that first couple of corners, turn 1, 2, and 3, where we have seen a lot of passing throughout the entirety of the 2025 season here at IKC, where passes and chaos have remained supreme at this section of the circuit.
Again, currently working on scoring. That's currently where we currently are at our operations. Now, there is another thing to mention for a lot of these teams. Was open for everyone today to be able to enter, meaning if anyone wanted to come down, try the racetrack for their first time, or be able to close out the season by trying this racetrack here at the start of November, well, they had that opportunity. No membership was required for this race for IKC memberships. As well, a lot of teams, Taylor, had the opportunity, if drivers wanted to use the arrive and drive services that are at the facility. Top Kart USA, New Gen Motorsport, Amax Racing, MPG Motorsports all had options available for today to be able to try and run in a drop in format.
It's a great opportunity, especially for those teams here who are based here at Whiteland, like MPG, Amax, New Gen, and Top Kart. Really great organizations to work with, and I'm excited to see if we do have some new faces joining us. We saw quite a bit of new faces join us in the season finale last week over at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, one of their biggest turnouts for the entire season. And I have a feeling we're going to have the same type of deal going into today's race action as well. Some new faces here in some new places. So look forward to seeing who comes out on top with the racing action.
Drivers are just about ready to go with the micros for their qualifying as we get set to go here in the next moments or so. It's going to be an interesting morning to see how things fare out here. What are you watching for in micros, Taylor?
Well, Micro Swift is going to be a little bit of mix of things. I mean, Blake Martinez is definitely going to be the favorite to see what he can do for pole qualifying, but there is a couple of other drivers who have had some great pace here today. Small group of drivers, though, entering out on the circuit, though, as they get themselves set in qualifying as the micros and minis continue on their way. But I got to say, for the driver of Gonzalez and company, I am really curious to see what he's able to accomplish, how he's going to be able to wrap up the season, and if anyone could kind of maybe play spoiler. Maybe we know for a fact no one's going to pass Blake Martinez for the championship, but it's always good to go into the last race of the season to get that win, as we see now them enter into the new section of the circuit, a part we haven't really run hardly at all this season, that we'll see some great passes, but who can come out on top and maybe take the fight to Martinez and Simonelli and get themselves ready for 2026?
I think you're referring more to the mini battle. The micros are the ones on the racetrack where it's been James Fox, Jackson McNeely in that fight. But regardless, it's still going to be very relevant in our conversation coming soon. See how the drivers are going to have to fare down this front straightaway. And it's also going to require today, mind you, a different entry for those at the racetrack and for those curious on your pit entry sequence here. Keep in mind that the drivers actually had the option to vote for the layout. That vote came about a week and a half ago. It was either this layout, it was a very different layout, which would have used a chicane right at the start and finish line area where the normal tram lines would be one of the more standard options that we've seen over the season, or it'd be a mixture of the both. So the support coming in absolutely for these drivers was pretty evident for this layout. 51% of the vote came to try out this type of racetrack here today. So again, qualifying is underway for micro for those tuning in. We're currently working to see where things line up in their time and in scoring, but as you can tell, at least one kart we've seen right from the get-go went off. They haven't been able to get fired up. Everybody else is staying in a line and trying to sort things out around the racetrack. So it's going to set up some opportunities for passes or crashes here in the ascent field. One driver hits the barrier.
Just a little tap there to the back bumper. He should be fine. He'll get himself refired and continue on his way, but not a great qualifying lap that he will have, which is going to be detrimental. These cards here take a little time to build up, just like any card here. You ain't going to get your fast flying lap till probably about 3 to 4. So now that he's kind of had that mistake, he's got to now reset himself and get everything wound back up for him to go and challenge for a good qualifying time as they come across the line. Still waiting on timing and scoring to update for us here to give you the top drivers in qualifying. Of course, right now, I'm looking through the field. I think we only have a total of 2, maybe 3 karts that are still running out on the circuit.
Yeah, a lot of people had some issues in this qualifying session here interestingly enough. But you're in the final stages here, believe, of qualifying. Remember, each driver for those tuning in for the first time this weekend get about 5 minutes on the racetrack to set their fastest lap time, same as practice, to be able to set the order for the heat race. And the heat races throughout the day are 5 minutes plus 2 laps. Then the finals themselves are 10 minutes plus 2 laps. We double the totals and race it out to see who gets the checker flags here today. Now, keep in mind later on today, it'll be cadet and sportsman for 206, the 206 Masters hit the racetrack with KA Junior 206 Light, also a part of the program, and also Kid Kart. But we will not be a part of the Kid Kart coverage, keep in mind. They have a different approach to those races, remember, for the youngsters. But qualifying closing up pretty soon here for our field of micros. Here today, remember, it was Kason Hendrickson in the micro and mini race who won last time, where it was his mini who took the win by 28 seconds. We'll touch upon the mini side in a few minutes. The micros, more importantly, is right now for them. James Fox on top, but Grayson White was the distance, with Jackson McNeely behind as well. 10 seconds was that winning interval. So some of those drivers appear to be here today, Taylor. As things get shuffled about, they are just about sorted with the qualifying, believe, but checker flag is being displayed in session details.
And we'll wait to see what the official result is for qualifying as well for these drivers as they get themselves reorganized, ready to go for this next run later on when we'll see them back out on the circuit for their heat race later on. Check flag is out.
Yep, end of session for the micros. It's very, very shady filled morning, by the way. A lot of darkness still over the racetrack here in Whiteland.
Well, don't forget, we are setting our, or at least for some parts of the country here in the United States, we're getting ready to fall back and lose that hour. So technically, it would be about 8 o'clock right now if it was Sunday morning instead of 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
Is it bad? I almost forgot it was going to be daylight savings time. Thanks for a reminder.
Of course, don't forget to set your clocks back for more updates. Check it out here on Kart Chaser.
Well, our minis are about to hit the racetrack, and a few more drivers in this grouping getting set to go for their qualifying session. To remind folks of the conversation we just had a moment ago, Blake Martinez has already clinched that championship. But every time we see Kason Hendrickson on the racetrack, who's been a part-timer this season, he's been a contender for the victory. After all, Hendrickson, we just talked about such a big margin last time, has swept 4 of the rounds this season here at K1 Circuit Whiteland.
He is one of the multi-time winners this season and has done so in domination fashion every time he's entered. His worst finish was back in round 10, a 6th place position in that race as well. So looking to try to get another win. There you see the 12 machine, Mr. James Fox, who decided to, since he's wrapped up the championship in the micro division, decided to move up into the mini Swift category to have some fun and run in that category. So we'll see how well he does as he gets set to go out there. So we're about to have some head-to-head competition with Blake Martinez, Kason Hendrickson, and James Fox, some of your top drivers in the mini and micro divisions. Really interested to see how it all plays out today.
And the gates may be open here, but we do have an Airedale out on the racetrack getting themselves onto the race carts. That's Jackson McNeely that's getting himself into the cart and on the pushback. So away goes McNeely. So take the long way around the racetrack. You can see just how much Rhino Liner is built up in some of these areas, by the way. Some of the areas have taken a fair amount of rubber, and in turn, will have a fair amount of grip here today. Some of these chicane areas, some of them not so much. So the cleanup getting dealt with just now before we get back going here for our qualifying sessions. That kart's off and away. Just have to wait for the clearance to go here once everything's all sorted. Jackson McNeely's kart did get himself recorded on track, interesting enough, just now with that for the micro qualifying portions of the sessions. So an interesting start to the day, and the drivers in the minis are now being told they can go, Taylor.
Absolutely. As they make their way out onto the circuit, we'll see how this all plays out on opening lap. 5 minutes on the clock, and Ian Fox leads us here out there on the circuit with Hendrickson, Martinez, Jessup, and Liat Simonelik out there heading their way through.
Simonelik amongst those who just competed, by the way, at MCC Cincinnati for its championships here too. Simonelik, as a result, last time out, ended up taking a miss that will see them, as a result, not in contention for the championship with Martinez, who did appear for all the races this season. That's the difficult balance when it comes to a karting schedule here, Taylor. It's which championships do you prioritize, where do you end up racing, etc., etc., where you end up going, and trying to compete for championships is so critical in the long term.
It really is. I mean, if you think about it, we saw a couple of their drivers that normally race here at IKC, like Braden Heaver, as well as several other drivers who race normally in this championship, also headed out to MCC for their finale last weekend. So it's all a matter of just where you feel comfortable trying to go for that championship, and as well as if you have that championship locked up or if you need to make sure you get those extra points.
So right now, as they go, see how much the drivers will have to work through the middle sector in particular. Be very technical with their approach here this weekend. Chance for some separation. Not really that many drafting opportunities, except for that run maybe to the front straightaway up to the start and finish line here today, Taylor, for drivers to consider. Fox sets his first time in the 49-second bracket for our session. Drivers are still picking up some tire temps, by the way. Expect those times to go down dramatically for the rest of the session.
Oh, easily. And as we watch them work their way around the circuit, we'll continue to see those times drops. Everyone now has completed a lap. Liat Simonelik just moved up to P4, but Ian Fox really looking forward to seeing what he can accomplish here in this space as he continues to work his way around the circuit all by himself. Really, no one has any drafting help here. So it's all a matter of how well you can manage the speed of your car around the circuit and how well you can take care of not sliding those tires here by yourself.
That's the big thing about this racetrack, is being able to make sure to control the temperatures, but also making sure you don't slide off with some of the battles. Right now, Fox, 48.460 is the benchmark for the qualifying session. Martinez in second. Hendrickson, who's been so quick anytime we've seen him, only down to third spot to start things off so far today. So a fair amount of challenge for the two karts so far. Ian Fox is at the top of the board right now. We haven't seen really this season at all in a race. Ian Fox doing very well, to say the very least, here today. When you think about the performance we've seen so far in the qualifying, we'll see if it crosses over to the race as he goes to the 48 flats. Martinez not close to that mark yet. Hendrickson's the same way. Hendrickson lost 2 seconds that time by. So as one driver goes off the track, that will...
They're trying to have a good qualifying run. He currently sits P2, so he's got a good positioning right now and has about a second advantage over Hendrickson and Simonelik. But still, you don't want to kick off a qualifying session where you're stuck out there in the grass.
You absolutely do not, to say the very least here, but it's about trying to improve upon things now for later on in the day when we go heat and feature racing now. Some of these drivers, Hendrickson gets within a tenth of Martinez now on the pylon at least. Still 35 seconds to go, so maybe enough time for the final lap for a majority of these drivers at this point. No one's been able to touch Fox, though. He's nearly 2 seconds up in qualifying in the 12 Kart. What's that going to say for the race today when you have that big of an interval already to start the day in qualifying, Taylor?
Pretty simple. Just if you are a pole sitter and expect it to do well, make sure you just hit your marks continuously. Try to just avoid making any mistakes, and you'll continue to grow that race lead when your respective races. For everyone else, got to go back and figure out what you're doing wrong, what you can improve upon, and make sure you can try to maybe get a good jump on the start of the race and put as much pressure as you can on the race leader.
Checker flag waves in the session. Fox stays at the top of the board. Hendrickson does get to second, but he's 1.3 seconds off Martinez, 3/10 back of that. Someone I like finishes in fourth with Jackson Jessup, the other driver, who recorded times up on the board for the qualifying session. So our first two groups are complete here for our qualifying. Quite simply, we'll set things up for the mediums next in the order. It's been an interesting morning so far for the youngsters, but it's time for some of the seniors to battle it out where things could get interesting for the championships for those classes coming up. So, let's talk about things for senior medium coming up here as we continue to look at our mini Swift qualifying order that's already come to a close here. Your thoughts, Taylor, before we get to that point here in the minis, real quickly on that qualifying.
I mean, Ian Fox has absolutely put on a dominating performance here in qualifying. If Ian can just take care of his equipment, safe to say that he could come home with the checkered flag here today. Hendrickson and Martinez going to have a good little fight for positioning as well, but Martinez needs to try to dig a little deeper to make sure he does not make a mistake like he did in qualifying if he is to wanting to go and cap off the championship with a podium or a race win.
So, our field is getting set. We have a lot of pickup going on. It looks like some drivers having issues with parts that might have been something to do with Blake Martinez. Obviously something coming off the Kart for the 38 to cause his pickup situation on the racetrack. So as they get ready to go, it's going to get interesting when it comes to our next battle because medium's got a lot of pressure because of what we just discussed when it came down to the conversation, Taylor, for the MCC Cincinnati conflict with K1 Circuit Whiteland. Because Hebert had to use a drop last time out. He only leads with his drops being zeros. 2,129 points to Evan Corkodale's 2,107. That difference, 22 points coming into today here, Taylor.
It's a 22-point gap between your top two in the championship. Don't forget about Levi Wilbur either. He's right there in the mix as well, just about 127 points. So it's safe to say, if the opportunity presents itself where Hebert and McCorkadale have trouble in both their heat race as well as in their feature race, Levi Wilbur could possibly sneak his way into a shot of coming out on top. 250 points are on the line if you are to win both your heat race and your feature race if you're to work out. So a lot of shuffling could come out of those top three as they are the fan and championship favorites.
So these drivers are just waiting for the opportunity to hit the racetrack now for their grouping. By the way, just received a correction that just came on through. Originally, the dominant scoring showed Ian Fox up at the top of the board. James Fox just had that corrected there, so thank you for the correction to those watching along from Cable G to be able to get that information to us. And in turn, to live timing and scoring. James Fox, remember, was actually the leader in micro. And his start today in that series may potentially actually cost him a chance at the micro championship, interestingly enough, for him. So we'll have to see how things go there with the drops. But our mediums are ready to go. And we're underway for the qualifying. A few drivers having transponder issues, hence why you may see some numbers on your top minute scoring. But you see, Laser's going to be good of battle here today. Derek Hastings should be fast. You have a very competitive field here, Taylor. Already a lot of people trying to make some passes in the infield section.
Already trying to do so, especially right there in that infield hairpin right there as drivers try to negotiate. A little bit of a bog down right now as they enter up onto the banking of Daytona to get themselves ready to go. And this is where we'll see that speed really build up from here, and where we'll see a lot of the draft come into play for each and every single one of these drivers, and why they got to stay so close as they head off into one opening lap. McCorkadale sets the fastest opening lap with a 58.7. Let's see if he can improve upon that, and if anyone could catch him.
A couple drivers going the wrong way just about as crews scramble to check on drivers right now. Outside of that, most of the field has started things off pretty smoothly here for their qualifying sessions. Evan McCorkadale, again, top of the board to start things off, as mentioned, was one of the many with CKA experience. Remember, for them as well, has had some good finishes with some close runs with drivers like Troy Tony in the past year or so. But we'll have to see if there's a response from Heber. Heber also is about to come across the time beacon, just went up to the 53.6s to third in session. Still needs to pick up 1.3 seconds.
Looking on through the field here as they continue to log some laps, just under 3 minutes to go. McCorkadale still holds it by about 0.2 of a second. Heber has quite a bit of work to do, 1.3 seconds, as trouble for one driver. That looks like to be the 5 machine, maybe, of Gavin Holtham. I'll have to double check on that as we watch McCorkadale really set the pace all by himself, which is incredible. With no help from the draft, he's got that Kart dialed in as he drops down another second, a 51.6.
Yep, so far we're seeing a lot of squabbling and shuffling now. Wilbur able to jump up to the 52nd bracket, but majority of the field trying to time things up for the right moment. Remember, not too much experience with this layout for a lot of these drivers potentially here today, so play around a lot with the setup as a result to be able to find that true balance here today. Right now, Heber up to second at least. Going to be interesting to watch for as we take a look at some of the aero drivers as they zip around the racetrack and try and line up. Corkadale just jumped up to second with a 50.7 for reference. Heber just in front of these carts here in the draft, still not able to get himself higher than third in the quality sessions. It's going to be a tough benchmark potentially to keep up with if things continue here for some of these drivers here in terms of their battles, because Levi Wilbur's brought the speed here today, and he's been quick anytime we've seen him this season here in KC grassroots competition here at K1 Circuit, Whiteland.
We certainly have. It's an incredible drive that we're seeing him put on. He is hungry to try and take that championship fight to McCorkadale and Heber in this closing stages, as watching on to see a couple of other drivers trying to work their way up through the field, and we're going to see a couple of new faces working their way in here. course, a couple of drivers like Tyler Demon, who's only made a couple of starts this season. In fact, his last start was back in round number 10 as his only start. So a couple of drivers who are trying to get themselves ready, hopefully make a full season effort here at IKC. And we'll hopefully see them back in 2026 as the drivers continue on with only a couple of seconds left. So one more lap for each of these drivers. Can Heber pull out a little bit extra to get the pole position away from Levi Wilbur?
Yeah, that's going to be the huge thing right now. Wilbur's been very consistent in the 506 card. But the checker flag waves for the session as the sun really starts to come across the circuit. Corkadale does not improve. Wilbur does to the 49.5s. Braden Heber gets himself within half a second of the pole time. But that's not going to be enough to be up there. Lucian Laser, fourth. Hastings in the top 5. All of them now crossed the stripe with Travis McNauseman down in 9th. Tower Demon and Nick Patton, 6th and 7th, with Eric Spilling holding on to 8th position in the running order. Good start to qualifying again for our field. But next up in the order going to be 206 Junior Taylor. Your thoughts on the mediums before we head to the juniors?
Levi Wilbur looking to try and take the fight and have a shot of the championship, doing what he needs to do by starting on pole position, and now has to leave the fight to what Heber and McCorkadale can do and how they will respond, and hopefully we'll have ourselves a good fight here in your 206 senior medium.
That's the hope, at least, here today once we go racing and once we go behind the paywall here on Kart Chaser. Remember, be sure to sign up for KC Premium to be able to get yourself access to all the racing today and here on Kart Chaser in general for pre-finals and finals today for both the morning and the afternoon sessions. So our next championship, again featuring 206 Junior in the running order. 206 Juniors. How have things gone for them? Well, Jordan Lapham comes in with a tight points lead after finishing third last time in both races in round 11. Parker Dunn is the one providing pressure. Also, within 106 points coming into that championship was Laser, in fact, to use the drop last time out as well. And of course, we just seen Laser just take part in medium for the 206s. So that's going to make things a little bit interesting for Nolan Wade if he can take himself into the third spot for the championship this weekend. Drivers are already on the racetrack for their qualifying grouping here. Taylor, going to be important for the 112 to have a clean run here today in the races to try and get the championship.
Absolutely. In fact, your top 4 is separated by less than 200 points. So looking at the field right now, 11 drivers, it could possibly cause a little shakeup in amongst those top 4 competitors, how well they perform here today. So a lot is up for grab as far as who will wrap up the podium and especially the championship in 206 Juniors, as Lapham sets early opening lap qualifying time with a 101.18. He's still got a little bit of work to do as we do have a yellow flag in this opening sector and has now been removed. So it must have been one driver that went off a little bit too far out there with cold tires, cold track, and is able to continue on with his qualifying efforts.
Just enough, Will Feinsteiner also amongst those a part of today's sessions, according to the timing beacons. No, Feintinger, I'd rather say, to correct myself, because we've called it now, his races across the country. Feintinger has been a really good driver when it comes to the national scene as of late in these events. We'll see. If we do see the 151 today, is not set any times in qualifying quite yet, as the 88 jumps to the top of the board. That is Sivakumar with a 54.8 to begin their sessions. Parker Dunn jumps to the top of the board as some of the drivers just now completing their first laps as well. Now, interesting enough, when it comes to Jaju, who we have not seen much of this season per se, when it comes to K1 circuit, outside of the past couple rounds, has a lot of camera footage that is provided when it comes to some of the street races that have taken place for the races, including things like the Elkhorn Grand Prix, also amongst the karts taking place there. So a fair amount of spread when it comes to him across the racetracks. We'll see how the 88 does here today with Lapham now to the top of the board.
How about Nolan Wade getting a good run in qualifying, moving up 3 positions to second, along with Maxon Cleve picking up some spots as well. That is your top 3. Parker Dunn finally breaking into the top 5 as well.
He had been up at the top at the initial start, but look who's also there. Tower Nash Turner is up to the 5th position also. Good start for their session. We haven't seen much of that 5th place driver this season, Tower Nash Turner, for reference here at the racetrack. Tower Nash Turner, amongst those who have had some appearances to Essex Junior per the stat lines, though, in 3 different rounds. So a lot of competitors wanting to turn out here at the very least to close out the season strong, Taylor, and that's the critical thing. Being able to take part in racing action before you finish up for the winter time. And then you have to pack up the cart for the cold. One driver off the racetrack in turn 1, everyone else streaks on by them.
Yeah, looking through the field right now as Turner is holding on to pole position. In fact, set a new track record with that 52.24. Really impressive time to kick off. Nico Santos moving into the top 5 with this, but Parker Dunn really struggling out there right now in qualifying effort as he has got to find some pace. He's 2 seconds off the pole position right now as Juju Sivakumar has moved up to 2nd place, an incredible lap time with a 51.9. Fightinger moving into the top 10 as Parker Dunn breaks the top 5 with a 5th place starting position so far. With them making it across the line, they get one more lap before the checker flag falls.
So final time around this time as Lapham has the benchmark 3/10 up with the rest of the field as we go. Tower Nash Turner, though, is a contender potentially for the pole. How things have gone, but no change for them this time. They backed off significantly. Might be the one driver who had some offs actually in turn 1. Lapham does continue to stretch that record up to a 51.256. Kumar stays in 2nd, Nash Turner 3rd, Nolan Wade in 4th. Maxon Cleve drops behind as Nico Santos bumps a couple people around. Parker Dunn bumps his way to 3rd as well. Santos to 4th, Nash Turner to 5th with Wade. Seward, Cleve, Fightinger, along with Kane in your top 10. Bentley McCann finished down in the 11th position. So the juniors are all complete for their qualifying. That will move us towards the Legends and Supermasters next in the order, by the way. And how have things gone for those championships? Well, see that in a moment for those discussions. Junior, though, has been fun. But now with the Legends and the Supermasters here, the Legends Championship is already clinched for J. Brian Williams. He has just about swept the entire season whenever we've seen the 75 card. Supermaster? Well, William McLaughlin has finished up front for the entire season in that class in the 56 machine, Taylor. That championship, my math counts right, just about, if not already, clinched over Danny Cutshaw.
Yeah, it would have to be some serious situation, like let's just say William McLaughlin is not here, which he is here, of course, no surprise there. So that was where it would have to be. he would have to not be here for him to have a chance of Danny Cutshaw winning the championship right now. So great drive to see here, but congratulations to both of our newly crowned Supermaster and Legends champion. Brian Williams, we got to touch on. I mean, talk about a dominant season in 206 Legends where you pretty much win every single race. And the thing is also, it's not just you by yourself. You have other competitors also in your category that are racing with you as well. And it's multi-class. So you have other competitors that you have to deal with in other classes as well. To put on a great performance like Brian Williams has done is unprecedented, where pretty much your worst start or worst finish was the two races where you didn't score any points, pretty much.
An interesting season to say the very least for them, but our first times coming on the board. Our drivers in the field today, William McLaughlin, as mentioned. Tom Harleman is here. He is amongst the legends with J. Brian Williams and Chad King. Everyone else is a Supermaster. Danny Cutshaw, Chris Whitaker, Richard Lemasters, Tom Stevens, along with Joseph Stevens, are your field today. 3 legends and 6 Supermasters are part of your run through here on Kart Chaser today for these competitors. McLaughlin, by the way, starting things off at the 58.8s with Tom Harleman doing the same for the respective classes here. Remember, battle for overall position is going to be helpful for track position, but the point structure remains the same. It's within the class for them. Harleman goes top of the board, 53.6. That's more than a second up there, Taylor. A great start for the 18 on the session.
A really great start for Tom Harleman as well. William McLaughlin looking to continue on his charge with pole position in Supermasters. Brian Williams, I say give it another lap or so, and he may charge his way up towards the front of the field for pole position as Tom Stevens moves into the top 5 overall.
Yeah, Cutshaw gets bumped as a result of that one down to position along with Joseph Stevens and Richard Lemasters. Tom Harleman seen right now streaking at the top of the board as we go here. Throughout the season has been competitive in his races. He won in round 2 with one of the J. Brian Williams missed rounds of the season. The owner and driver of AceWorks Motorsports is doing pretty solid throughout the entire time so far at the track. But McLaughlin has bumped him with J. Brian Williams now as everyone's gotten up to speed. You do see a fair amount of separation pop up in these types of races, Taylor, at times amongst these drivers. What's it going to take to be able to close up these gaps, try and find a way to mitigate them, to be able to leapfrog, maybe gain some positions here once we go racing later today for them?
Well, when we get set for racing, we will see a lot of these drivers be more condensed up. Everyone here, kind of wants to have a little room to work with, try to get their laps in qualifying for the most part, as Harleman responds with a fast lap in qualifying for the 206 Legends. And then there goes Brian Williams to the top of the leaderboard with a 52.192 for overall pole position. When we get set for racing here, these drivers will get a little more closer, condensed, and hopefully try to see some really good fight for positioning overall. It's going to take a little time, though. I think right now is just get yourselves ready, see how the track feels, how the track has maybe changed for you, because when they started, it was a lot colder than what it is right now. That sun's starting to beat down on the track a little bit, raising the track temp up just a little bit to where it can improve a little bit on the grip, make it less greasy out there, and hopefully see some optimal lap times for our competitors before we get set with the heat races.
See if that ends up being the case here throughout the day. It's expected to get as high as 55 degrees Fahrenheit is what we were told before today. What we're getting a little bit blocky right now with some of the drivers. But with 14 seconds left, final time around coming up for these competitors. McLaughlin, 51.9s. Harleman, 51.5s to lead the respective classes. J. Brian Williams, Still 2/10 off the pole to be able to try and go to the top of the board there as we make our way around the track. Coming up to the checker flags this time by Tom and Joseph Stevens, along with Virtual Masters, stay towards the bottom 6 through 8 in the qualifying session. All of them in Supermasters. Tom Harlan groups with 51 fours, but J. Brian Williams times it up for the right time. 51.8 to end off the qualifying session. Will take over the overall pole for the race, with McLaughlin holding on to third. Chad King holds on to the top 5 behind Danny Cutshaw. Be one of the final drivers to come across the stripe in the qualifying session. Chris Whitaker stays at the bottom in 9th. Your thoughts on this group here, Taylor? As in the end, J. Brian Williams and William McLaughlin will lead their classes.
I mean, no surprise there for Mr. Brian Williams. He has absolutely set the pace the entire season. It would kind of be crazy to see him not set pole position and go for the win in his class as well as overall. And Cutshaw, well, he's continuing to always be impressive and can even have a chance of challenging at least second overall, to where it's a Supermaster and a Legends in the 1-2 positions. But now it's time for your KA Senior and KA Masters, who are about to head out onto the track. And looking at the championship for both of them, Joshua Nelson pretty much has that championship locked up. There's only been 2 drivers in the Masters division, but the KA Senior, it's looking about the same. AJ Lund has had a dominating season, pretty much winning multiple races, a grand total of at least 6, maybe 7, as I double check the things, as his worst finish is a 7th place in round 6 and then a no-show for round 3. An incredible season for AJ Lund in that number 43 Top Kart USA.
His championship just about secure, but you also have Dane Van Dyke and Raider Santos, who are keeping things tight in their battle for second in the championship, also with a chance to steal things. Macy Gallion for a potential top 3 run, get on the championship podium. They'll hit the racetrack now for the qualifying session. A lot of drivers part-time have made appearances in one as well. Elijah Fox, Austin Olds, Adam Maxwell won a heat race at one point. Ryan Mort ended up appearing and winning a race. Levi Wilbur earlier in the season made one start in this class. We'll see a lot of drivers here today looking to make the starts today to see where things fare out. Levi Wilbur is indeed amongst the field, making appearances in KA Senior with the Masters to close out their season. The field already trying to work together a couple of groupings of packs, a group of 3 in fact, trying to draft together, Taylor. These drivers try and find some sort of time to begin. AJ Lund's benchmark to start 48 seconds. Keep in mind they ran 44 seconds at full speed.
Really good run right now. Braden Reuter, great start to kick off qualifying as everyone else starts to log laps on this opening run. We'll see those times come down further and further as drivers try to just jockey around, find their right dance partner, find their rhythm, and get set to run.
We know for a fact things are going to be pretty competitive for this field today, with Lund in particular trying to streak to the end here, but going to be interesting to see where things fare out with Maxwell making amongst those appearances today in the field. Maxwell currently amongst those in the top 2, although Lane Gibbs, who's also making an appearance today, also shuffling about. We've seen Lane Gibbs in 2 of his 3 appearances this season finish off second step on the podium. He has race-winning speed, though, we've seen, though, in past seasons. 2024 in particular comes to mind when it comes to Lane. He is also a member of MPG Motorsports, which is, of course, a good team to be a part of, and what did pretty well in Route 66 competition as well for those races over the summertime, part of his national schedule.
Well, if you also think about it too, if I remember correctly, let me verify something right quick, but with them also going to go compete in a couple of weeks' time at the Great SCUSA Super Nationals, they brought in some major star power to help them compete in the KA and X30 category, as they have brought in major national and global international champion, Mr. Joe Turney, will be racing under the MPG banner Kart Republic group as well for Supernats 28. So you're talking about the star power and the prowess that MPG Motorsports has. That is one driver who I know for sure will be a threat for the Supernats in both KA and X30 this year.
Every one of the drivers to keep an eye on here today. Gibbs getting bounced around down to 8th last time through the time beacon. Look at this pack. All through the opening corners. Some drivers want to work in the middle of it. Some people want to get away from the pack. Giggles like this one are going to be a trouble spot in the technical sections here today. See how much that pack has already just separated out, with some of the drivers just not wanting to be in the heart of it, and some of them just want to work on their own, while others want to get some slipstream for the straights.
Everyone just wants to really try and get a good run here, make sure they hit their marks, as we are closing in on 1 minute left to go in qualifying. So about another 2 laps left for our drivers that can set pace. How about Levi Wilbur moving up, making some improvement? Dane Van Dyke holding position as well. No one else really for now, as we say. Ryan Mort has moved up 4 spots into the top 10, 16 cars. I have to say it's one of our biggest fields we've had in KA Senior in quite some time, as drivers, really no improvements have happened here. Times are starting to taper off a little bit here for most of our drivers, as the KA Senior category is really putting on a show here as they continue to wind that clock down, coming to get one more lap at least.
These drivers should just about, for the most part, have that opportunity. Adam Maxwell just jumped up to 3rd again. One of the AMAX machines in the field here today. We know that team very prominent in this region. Christopher Yotze has been able to stay up in 2nd spot throughout much of this, by the way. Seen a lot of that name as of late. It's one of the drivers that also competed in CKA Grand's competition recently, and was a part of those drivers who also races in the NCMP kart scene when it comes to their club circuits. But drivers are coming up to the checker flag waving now. Braden Rudder jumps to the top of the board. 44.163. Will that change for AJ London? Company Maxwell and Laser have already completed their ties. Ryan Mort gets into the top 5. For Lund, don't think there's a shuffle here. Mason Ward down in 9th. Also, so Braden Rudder goes to the top of the board here in qualifying. With that in mind, it's time to head behind the paywall. Be sure to sign up for KC Premium today for $9.99 a month to be able to watch racing from all across the country. It's time for pre-finals and finals, 10 minutes away. From that point, we'll see you at the other side of the break.
Florida Kart Racers, you asked for it and we're going to bring it. Introducing Florida Karting Championship, FLKC, a brand new racing series coming to Florida in 2026.
cool race.
Come on, man.
Cat food marketing. $9.99 a month.
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go. Come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Perico. It's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Perico, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
Yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and 0 sugar? Pericazo! Try Perico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
The K1 Circuit Semi-Pro League. This is a competitive race series with 2 classes. Junior Series for those who are under the age of 18, and the Senior Series for those who are 18 or older. If you think you have what it takes, come out and prove your skills on League Night. Both schedules are live on the K1 Circuit website. Your Kart Chaser live feed will resume shortly.